Andrew Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It's a great pleasure to follow the honourable gentleman who shared with the House such powerful and important emotional experiences, and we respect him greatly for having had the courage to do that today. Madam Deputy Speaker, I draw the House's attention to my interests set out in the register, and also want to congratulate my right honourable friend for Newark, who launched this important debate for the House of Commons and the country so eloquently today. And I want to echo the comments that he has made about the Right Honourable Lady, our very good friend, the member for Barking, who so sadly cannot be with us today, but with whom I've worked for many years extremely closely on issues of economic crime and dirty money. And any cause which the Right Honourable Lady supports, any cause to which she brings her formidable powers, is a cause that is worthy of the House's greatest possible attention. Madam Deputy Speaker, every year we convene in this chamber and in venues around the country to proclaim never again. Never again will we stay silent in the face of hatred. Never again will we stand by as people are murdered because of who they are. Never again will a Holocaust be allowed to happen. And yet around the world it is happening again and again. My honourable and gallant friend with very direct experience once again impressed the House hugely with his knowledge and understanding of these things. But in particular, the words of his mother, where we have a duty in our generation, a duty that cannot be shirked, I thought were incredibly powerful. We have shamefully borne witness to genocides in Bosnia. I have stood amongst the gravestones at Srebrenica, not many hundreds of miles from here, in Europe, marvelling at what took place there. I have stood in Darfur and heard the testimony and witness, particularly of women, at the brutality of what George Bush, quite rightly, the President of the United States, described as a genocide. And in Burma too, and in Rwanda, where in 1994 nearly 1 million people, predominantly Tutsis, were murdered by their Hutu neighbours over a 90-day period. Madam Deputy Speaker, I would like to focus my comments today on Rwanda and the genocide because the UK now has a connection to this, though it is not widely known. Once the killing stopped, those allegedly responsible for these appalling events fled far and wide, some to neighbouring countries, others to Europe, North America and Canada. I regret to say that in the UK today, 5 people suspected of taking part in the genocide are living freely among us. Over the years, many countries, such as Sweden and Canada, who initially harboured the suspects, went on to extradite them to Rwanda to face trial in the Gacaca courts. Other countries, notably Germany, prosecuted the suspects in their own domestic courts. Britain has done neither, even though extraordinarily the arrest warrants were issued as long ago as 2006. In 2015 and 2017, a British district judge and our own High Court ruled that even though the evidence was compelling, none could be sent back to Rwanda because such action could breach their human rights. Now, while, Madam Deputy Speaker, I do not agree with this assessment, given that Rwanda had long abolished the death penalty and constructed a justice system which was considered progressive, I had faith that Britain would nonetheless deliver justice by placing the suspects on trial here. We have in this country comprehensive legislation that allows for the prosecution of suspects accused of war crimes, irrespective of their nationality or the countries in which the crimes took place. With no statute of limitations, there is no legitimate reason why justice should not be expedited. I was a member of this House when that legislation was passed. I will give way.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank my right honourable and very good friend for making that point. I have given evidence in 4 war crimes trials in the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Republic of Yugoslavia. I have also formed an organisation in 2000 to chase war criminals. It didn't last long, but we tried. Can I just entirely endorse the last comments that my right honourable friend made about us in this country chasing war criminals until they die?
I'm very grateful indeed to my honourable friend for what he has said. And the circumstances which I have described, alas, we are still waiting. Last March, a group of senior members of Parliament and peers, including no less than 3 former distinguished law officers, decided it was time to act. Firm in the belief that the UK should be no safe haven for war criminals, we set up the all-party group on war crimes with the sole purpose of seeing what can be done to accelerate the investigation and legal proceedings. I have the honour of co-chairing this group with Lord John Mendelsohn, a former secretary of the original War Crimes Group, which was instrumental in passing the legislation to which I have just referred. In this specific case, it is available and relevant, and we have sent a letter in the last 10 days to the Home Secretary, copied to the Director of Public Prosecutions, the Mayor of London, the Attorney General and the Lord Chancellor, because we want a specific, proper response with dates and details of the legal process that must now take place in respect of these people. The job of the new War Crimes Group is not to presuppose the guilt or innocence of the suspects. We simply want to ensure that due process is followed and that justice, already excessively long delayed, is not now denied further. After all, it would be equally wrong for these 5 suspects to have these serious allegations hanging over them for 16 years if they turn out to be untrue. And it is the apparent inertia, the lack of grip or concern or urgency that I believe shames us all. I'd like to say, Madam Deputy Speaker, that the APPG has made some progress in answering these questions that we have posed to the investigating authorities. But alas, the answer is a flat no. One of the problems we have identified is that the UK's once dedicated war crimes unit, set up in the 1990s to investigate suspected Nazi criminals, no longer exists. In the absence is a subgroup operating under the auspices of SO15, the Met Police's Counter-Terrorism Command. This group has neither the budget nor the manpower to bring the matter to a conclusion, apart from which terrorism and war crimes are 2 quite separate things, each requiring its own specialised skill set. Germany's War Crimes Unit is able to draw upon the full panoply of state support. Only a few weeks ago, we heard that a Syrian war criminal was tried and convicted in a German court under the principle of universal jurisdiction. That arrest only took place in 2019, yet Britain is struggling to complete a process which started 16 years ago. The main problem is that we simply do not have the resolve or the political will demonstrated by other countries to ensure the availability of necessary resources. Denmark does, the Netherlands does, and clearly Germany does. Why are we so far behind, Madam Deputy Speaker? Britain is a country with a rule of law and accountability, values that we should cherish and uphold and promote at all times. It is inexcusable. We must demonstrate the same sense of resolve and urgency on Rwanda as we rightly did with suspected Nazi war criminals. Failure to do so would send a very dangerous and damaging message that the UK could become a refuge for war criminals. We may not always have the power to prevent atrocities, but if we truly care about the victims of genocide, the least we can do is to offer the survivors justice. The souls of those murdered in the Rwandan genocide cry out for justice, but from Britain they hear only a deafening silence.
For your clerk.